We are reforming for the grid, and we are waiting for the 5 red lights to come on. Dodgy is on pole, championship leader, and the 5 red lights are coming on ahead of the drivers here for Division 3. It's a long hold. We're underway. Look like the Ferrari. Charlie got a poor start, and he is falling back. Jack CB is already alongside, and it has the inside line, has the high ground for turn 1, and he is into the lead for now. Dodgy tries to hold it around the outside, but it's no avail. To no avail, and Jack CGB takes the lead of the American Grand Prix here in Division 3. Dodgy stays ahead into the S's in the first sector of Hypers. There's a few changes of position, side-by-side action between the Williams and the Mercedes of Gareth and Neelix. And they're still side by side by looks like Gareth gets ahead as Russell already picks up a time penalty. It looks like he's gone straight on somewhere. But it's all cars pointing in one direction at the moment. Don't see too much damage at the moment, but Charlie with the poorest start of
That's
everyone.
a lot of damage right there.
Oh, Neelix is round. Neelix has been... Well, I don't know if did he spin or...
He kind of just caught the
there.
end of it. He was careered off into the wall on the exit of turn 10, and he definitely got a lot of damage, thankfully, and somehow not completely totaled the car. I think Russell might have some... No, Russell doesn't have damage, so he's just had a bit of a wayward first lap. Jester's got damage though, Mertz. I caught that going into turn 1. He had a bit of contact with a McLaren and lost his M plate. From
Charlie.
Right. Right. Oh, we got Williams round as well.
Williams off. Grumpy Orange has spun. And on the hard compound tyres, he's going to have a mountain to climb. Scott Laney is going down the inside of the triple right-hander of Jester, who has the damage, and he goes wide. And is Jester going to pit? He does. It's a side-by-side action between Russell as he goes down the inside of the final corner. And has to stick behind Lofty. He's struggling to get some tyre temperature as the leaderboards decide to do one on me. But Jack is just ahead at the moment as they are very close. And like it was in qualifying, they are trying to stretch their legs out front. And they are the main trio, and it's starting to turn into a 3-horse race already out front.
Yeah, Russell's just grabbed another penalty there, and Grumpy Orange had another spin actually through turns 16, 17, 18. Neelitz as well now coming into the pits, gone for the mediums, has the Mercedes driver. Hypers as well pitting. Sorry, not Hypers, Jester. He's put on some hards, so he's going to look to go long in this race. Hope for a safety car of sorts later on to try and help him out. But yeah, we've got a really good battle going on. Jack did very well to take the lead from the start. And, well, I mean, I don't think that's the end of the world for Dodgy, because he's still ahead of Hypers as it stands. But obviously it is now Hypers immediately behind him. So that does add a little bit of pressure. And it looks as though Hypers is really trying to mount a bit of a challenge on him here as well.
Yeah, Dodgy a little bit under pressure at the moment. Just needs to regroup himself as Jack tries to stretch his legs out front, and Cowan is just trying to keep up as Hypers lights up the rears completely out of the final corner, and that puts him back a little bit. And the top 6 within DRS range of each other, as DRS is enabled on his lap. SLR Russell is going to be in danger of being disqualified come the end, as he's got 3 penalties in 3 laps. And yeah, he needs to clamp down on that, as Unreal Salmon is the first cork in the bottle, we could say. And his drivers he is starting to drop off the back, as Cowan and Sprightly are struggling to stay with their respective drivers ahead of him as well. So we'll see. Jack stays ahead for now, but this is a long way to go. And just to note, Cameron made 8 positions up in the first couple of laps from, what would that be, P17 on the grid.
Very strong start from Cameron, yeah.
Shows the soft compound tyres. And, well, maybe that was the right choice after all.
Yeah, maybe. One of only, I think, 2 drivers outside of the top 10 to go for them off of the start, and, well, paying dividends for the Haas driver, as you say. But yeah, this battle for the lead then is, as you kind of hinted at, is becoming a bit of a 3-horse race, as they've dropped Cowan now. He's over a second and a half back.
Oh my word, they're going 3 wide into the... Oh my, into the hairpin. Steve-O, Scott Laney and Russell, and there's you could throw a blanket over all of them. Understeer for Scott Laney, and this could end in tears. Russell goes a bit deep. Lofty will start to get interested, and Jack Mole in the background as well. I'll quickly go back to the front after all this, but yeah, there's a load of cars all over each other, and it's a big scrap for 11th place as Russell goes down the inside into turn 1. Oof,
damage
pops.
for Laney. Hit the back of him
and,
under
yes,
braking. That's an end plate gone, so yeah, that's really gonna scupper the Red Bull drivers' races. Russell again cutting the S's. Yeah, Hypers was pressuring the back of Dodgy, and again Dodgy has actually dropped out of DRS range of Jack, so that's pretty big for the race, because it's going to leave Dodgy pretty defenseless to the Renault of Hypers, should Hypers want to mount a serious challenge, which he has a little look down the inside into 12, but not quite close enough on this occasion to go for the move.
Cowan is dropping off the back. Cameron and Unreal Salmon going at it for P8 as Russell is going again. Steve-O, as that is Neelix.
Neelix again.
Has spun off and has not had the greatest of races. Probably one of the worst races he has had in Division 3, but he is still in this race, and you never know, a safety car could bring him right back up. So hopefully for Neelix he can get back into this race. Hyper stays in third place. Cameron picks up a penalty, and Charlie on the back of Calum will try and take back fourth place where he started in this Grand Prix. But yeah, Cowan getting a little bit detached as it's still free at the front and Dodgy back in DRS range, but he's had to use up a little bit of ERS to get into the DRS range, and he's going to be under threat from Hypers, you will think, towards the latter stages of this stint, and maybe even this straight, as he's had a bad run again for the start of the second sector, and he's not going to have DRS, as Hypers almost looked like he was going to have a look into the hairpin onto the straight. He's going to have DRS again now in the toe. Is he going to go for a move? He's a little bit too far back, and he's not using any overtake. It's just going to be plain DRS, but it's not going to be enough. Late on the brakes, and probably a little bit too late, and he has to stay staring at the gearbox of Dodgy as Unreal Salmon and Cosmic Cameron going at it again, as Salmon has the inside line, and I think he's just about going to hold on. Oh, as Cameron goes round the outside, he's going to make this stick. It's going to be very brave, and he's going to try and hold it in. Oh, he's very late on the brakes. Is he going to go for the switchback, Salmon? He is. They're still side by side. Cameron is somehow staying ahead of Salmon here, and he's going to wash out wide. He's the Mercedes driver. He's going to be a very brave man to go down the inside there, and he doesn't, and almost loses the car, as I think that was a racing point into the pit lane.
Yeah, it is. Lemon then with a very early stop. It was a great move from Cameron actually to get past Salmon initially a couple of laps ago. Very late on the brakes down into 12 and just sort of slid down the inside. And then you thought for all the world there that Salmon was going to make it a lot easier to get back past, but now Salmon's just lost it and he's smashed into the wall on the exit there of turn 2. Unbelievably not
he's reset to track.
Tired, and whether he reset to track there or I don't know whether he got reset himself.
I don't know. But
yeah, we got VSC now as well.
VSC.
But yeah, nevertheless, I mean, Cameron was defending really well. He was doing really well to sort of try and keep hold of the position, which he of course did. I mean, he's had a fantastic first 6 laps as Cameron. The only downside is picking up that penalty, but other than that, it's been a really strong start to the race for him. Real shame as well for Salmon, because he was driving a pretty solid first stint, but a slightly strange incident really, losing the car in the manner in which he did, and then yeah, resetting to track most likely, which is definitely unfortunate. We got a McLaren going really slowly down the straight. That's Steve-O. Not quite sure what happened there. He almost came to a stop.
Issues with the Delta, by the sounds of it. DRS is enabled. Nobody has a drive-through. And we are underway again. Dodgy very slow off the restart. And Jack has caught his rival napping, and is Hyper's going to have a go. ERS charged up again. He's gaining. It's going to be quite far back. Dodgy kind of defends thin air, and Hypers has a little bit of look, has to slow down, and picks up a time penalty already in this race, so that's going to be something to watch out for. Sprightly is in the pits as well, so maybe the Racing Points are going for a two-stop strategy instead of
both
the
pitting
one
really
stop.
early, aren't they? Both pitting very early. And for the mediums as well, Mercs, you wouldn't think that they'd be able to make it from this stage of the race, would you?
You wouldn't think so. Hypers is very struggling to keep it on the track at the moment. Russell picks up another time penalty. We'll try not to bore you with those, but yeah, he is struggling with track limits. There's Charlie still in DRS, and this man Hypers is going to really try and go for it on Dodgy. Dodgy is defending hard to the left. Hyper's going to try around the outside. This is personal between these two for the championship, but Dodgy holds firm for now. Is Hyper's going to have a little dart down the inside? He's not. Hyper's really needs to try and get past Dodgy and gap him so that he has the position on him on track at least, and at the checkered flag, as that 3 seconds is really going to hamper him, especially if there's any sort of safety car later on anyway, but he needs to get ahead of him and try and gap him like Jack is doing at the front at the moment. And Charlie's still behind Cowan. Cowan's not too far behind, so maybe he has a little bit of a sniff at a podium, as I think Cowan's had a poor exit at the final corner, but I think he's going to be fine for now. Hyper stays behind Dodgy, and as you were for the top three, and Cowan is still ahead of Charlie, and there's big gaps behind as Russell comes into the pit lane.
Yeah, can't help but feel this battle's going to continue for as long as this race goes on here, as Hyper's really pressuring the back of Dodgy as he has been the whole way through. And in fact, Dodgy getting a little bit loose there through 10 might give Hypers the opportunity to go down the inside into turn 11, which he does side by side on the exit, but Dodgy getting the traction, but he's very low on his battery, Mercs, down to single figures.
It's going to be,
I think it's going to be relatively easy here.
Candy from a baby, and he finally gets his man, and maybe he does have the ERS, does Hypers, as Charlie's still behind Cowan, and Dodgy is lacking pace in the race at the moment. The man who started from pole position is now in third place. Chester picks up a time penalty, but he is a long way back in P16. The two Mercedes who are trying to gain ground in the championship on the Renaults, it's probably Renaults to lose in the constructors, but Alfa Romeo, they're both in. As I was watching, Hypers gets a 10-second time penalty for cutting. He cut. Well, I was on board, and he did cut the whole pit lane entry. So maybe he has himself to blame. But yeah, that is disaster for Hypers. He did, as Dodgy puts on the hard compound tyres, Hypers puts on the medium compound tyres. Differing strategies for the two championship protagonists, but it's Dodgy who doesn't have the penalties.
That is crazy, and that won't be removed either. So that's a real kick in the teeth, I think, for Hypers. The saving grace at this point is it's not that Russell's retired, but he has. It's that Dodgy's behind both Stevo and Jack as he's come out of the pits. So Hypers has really got to try and get a move on here, because he's got 13 seconds of penalties compared to Dodgy's 0 as it stands.
Yes, we have a train behind Stevo here, and yeah, it's starting to form quite a big one. Gareth on the soft compound tyres. He's going to try. Jack Molt is going to go past Stevo, or is he? Stevo brakes later. Dodgy is right there, and Dodgy, is he going to make a move already? Down the inside he goes on the Red Bull driver of Jack Molt, and I think he's got the move done for now, and he does. He's up into P7, and that's crucial for now. But yeah, Dodgy lost a lot of time to Hypers in the pit lane and in the on the outlap.
Yeah, it was an interesting one because Jack went from lining up a move on Stevo there to getting overtaken relatively comfortably by Dodgy as Stevo gets really loose out of turn 20, and that's I think going to give Dodgy the chance to go for the move around the outside. It is into turn 1, but Stevo trying to hold it on the apex there, and he does just about. And now Jack might come back at Dodgy here. Has a little think about it, but thinks better of it. Smart driving there as to not put his car side by side with the Alfa Romeo into turn 1. All this has done, Merckx, is allow Cowan to actually jump his teammate and come back out of the pits on the medium compound tyres and up into P3.
I'm gonna cut you off there as Jack gets a poor exit. Hypers is really on the back of Jack for now. He decides not to use the overtake, and he really needs to get a move on if he's going to try. But as you say, Cowan, yeah, Dodgy's had a, I don't know, something. I don't know if that was the pit stop or what. But he's had a really slow pit stop, or he's had to, or he's obviously got held up on the outlap. But behind. Interesting. And Jack Mole is at it again. Sprightly around the outside. So thank you very much. Steve-O's still holding firm. Sprightly for position is up into P6, goes wide.
Charlie as well was going for.
This is like ants at the moment. Who've just their nest has just been stepped on, and it's just exploded into life. As is the Williams going to go down inside of Charlie in the final corner. Gareth definitely doing a two-stop, as there's a lot of cars on the main straight. Hyper's still behind, but they're all behind the main man, Steve-O, the fan favourite in the McLaren. And yeah, he's holding up a train and holding them all up a tree at the moment.
Yeah, Charlie was
good for Dodgy.
Looking for a move on Jack as well. Just seems to, I think, not quite have the tyres with him right now, as Hyper's getting another penalty. So when it rains, it pours. Gareth, yeah, as you say, committing to the two-stop strategy onto another set of softs. Not sure that's necessarily the best of strategies, considering he's in the midst of this train. He really needs to be in clean air to make the most of those sauces. In fact, Charlie just tapping the back of the Red Bull down into 11, so it's getting a little bit hairy between these guys, as they're all in quite close proximity. Charlie then going for the move down into turn 12. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It looks as though it's just about Charlie, but Jack's still trying to hold it around the outside, but just not got the grip on those old medium tyres compared to Charlie on his fresh mediums.
Scott Laney ahead, or is he ahead of Maxwell? They're going side by side, going at it, as Maxwell holds firm to the inside, and Gareth isn't really making an impact on those soft compound tyres because of this train. Hyper sets the fastest lap, and he is ahead of Jack for all that action. I didn't even see that, so I do apologise, but there was just a lot going on. But Jack won't mind one bit, and he'd probably just let him go anyway. And didn't fight too much because Hypers has 16 seconds of penalties.
Yeah, he's really, giving himself.
As it stands, he would be, well, P10.
Yeah, he's unfortunately just given himself a very large mountain to climb, you got to say.
Yes, so as you can see, this gaggle of cars behind Steve-O probably helping Hypers out, to be honest.
Oh, massively,
because this train goes from Steve-O all the way back now to Lofty, who's just about in DRS range, as they're all swarming over him. And it's, yeah, just absolutely crazy at the moment. Charlie going for another move again on Sprightly, side by side. Down the straight they go. Charlie's got the... Well, they all got DRS, but Charlie's got the better straight line speed, and he is going to be up into P6.
Oh, Dodgy having a look at Steve-O, but had to try and back out and really just misjudged that. And now Charlie's going to look to capitalise on it. I mean, I think really evident how much time these guys have lost. Dodgy was basically half a second behind Hypers heading into the pit lane. He's now, what's that, 16, 17 seconds behind the Renault driver.
At the moment, Hypers is still finishing ahead of Dodgy, which would make him gain in the championship. But there's still a long way to go as Sprightly loses it. Oh, my word, that would have been a heart-in-mouth moment. But yeah, I think the mediums didn't quite work for these drivers as it is, as they haven't really made the gains they would have wanted. Hyper with another time penalty, so that pushed him back even further. He's really struggling. He's at the front, so he doesn't really need to take much risk. Sprightly takes a large amount of off that corner and picks up a time penalty for his troubles. Charlie seems to be overtaking everyone he comes past at the moment, so I'm half expecting this to be meat and drink for for Charlie. But in the background, Gareth is pressuring Dodgy on the soft compound tyres, and I think Gareth is going to try and go for a move, and Charlie is right up the gearbox of Steve-O. Steve-O goes to the middle of the road, but as it was before, Charlie is just making moves lap after lap, and in the background you will see Steve-O
got yellow flag
side. I think that's Jester.
Yeah, it is.
Not trying to help out his teammate. And Gareth is ahead of Dodgy, and well, Hards will go to the end.
They're just not working for him, though, are they? At all.
Perfect for the time penalty, because these guys at the front very soon will be able to have a free pit stop and get ahead of this train.
Yeah, the Hards just really don't seem to be a good race tyre at all around here. Dodgy's just gone backwards ever since coming out of the pits behind Steve-O. The thing is as well with Hypersmerts is it's really quite unnecessary from him as well, which is unfortunate, as Dodgy completely misses his braking point going into turn 1 and almost hits the back of Steve-O and is going to lose out possibly to Jack through turn 2. Is he? Not quite. But yeah, I mean, Hypers has the fastest lap of the race, Mertz. Jack has the second, I believe, and it's 7/10 slower than Hypers. So really, you can't help but feel all these warnings and penalties he's got really unnecessary. Well, you know, obviously it's easy to say, but it's not like he's been getting them intentionally, of course. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously got some really strong pace. It's just a shame that he's got a whole heap of penalties that are going to be added on as well when he finishes the race.
Yeah, I really feel for Dodgy at the moment. But the saving grace, I should say the saving grace for him, is that Hypers has got a bunch of time penalties. But yeah, Steve-O has done him a solid. He goes down the inside of Steve-O. Steve-O goes off the track, and Steve-O backs out. And goes down to P7. He's going to have to pit, as he hasn't pitted yet, as a bunch of drivers still haven't pitted. I think 6 drivers yet to stop in this race, and Steve-O has really held up a lot of drivers, but it's probably helped out Charlie as he's ahead now of Dodgy, and Cowan as well has pulled a 9-second gap on Charlie, who was within DRS range, as Steve-O loses the back end, and well, Jack does well to not hit the back of him, and that's going to really ruin his momentum. And is Sprightly going to have a go? No, because Steve-O's burning his ERS. He's trying to hold down, so a bit of wheel bagging, and Jack, he spins. Oh no!
Big contact.
They've collected each other, and they're both in the wall. And Sprightly is waiting for everyone to go past, but that is heartbreak for those 2 drivers. And unfortunately, as a result of Jack going off the track and spinning, Sprightly gets collected, and his bad luck with me on commentary continues, and he is out of contention for points in this race.
Yeah, no visible damage for Jack, but Sprightly's missing both of his end plates, so that's really unfortunate for him there. Dodgy has, like you say, gotten past Steve, as we just saw a few moments ago, but he's lost another second plus to Hypers since getting past McLaren, who I'm sure he had a few choice words for when he got past, but Steve-O perfectly entitled to defend position, running his own race. I think it's probably just more those hards not working for Dodgy as opposed to him struggling for the pace. But yeah, it's definitely a shame. Obviously, of course, though, he's still in a very solid position because Hypers is going to be, well, only losing a couple of positions actually as it stands with his penalties. But I mean, he's got what's that, 12, 13 laps to keep a 19-second gap it is at the moment to well as many drivers as he can really. And if we have more incidents like we just saw there, um, safety car might not be too far away as he gets
Another.
another penalty.
Oh, Hypers. What's he? Oh,
He could find himself getting disqualified here if he's not careful.
yeah. I don't know. He needs to just be safe. But yeah, just wants to go fast, I suppose. We all want to go fast, but you got to respect the track. And unfortunately, he's picked up another time penalty, and that would be about 20. I don't even know at this point, but he'll be dropping in that gap between Dodgy and Stevo as it stands. But Dodgy is they're just not, the tyres are just not turning on for him. And yeah, it'd be interesting. What I'll be interested to see is what can Gareth do when he pits. Can he get back? As there's a yellow flag in sector 2, but that was only brief. It looks like that was Neelix, possibly. I'm not too sure on that one. No, I think it was Unreal Salmon and Jack Mole back there as Maxwell and Cameron going at it, and Maxwell up into P9, yet to pit, and yeah, Gareth still behind Charlie, and he's in the pits. So he's going to go in the pits. He's very slow into the pits, so that's lost him a heap of time. Didn't attack the pit lane. But yeah, leaves Charlie on his own in P4. And you'd think his tyres would comfortably make it to the end. It's marginal one stop from softs to mediums. But I think he should be able to make it to the end.
Yeah, fair play to Neelitz. He's kept going despite being a lap down. As you say, it's not been a brilliant race for him, but he's not given up just yet. We've got quite a few drivers actually, Mertz, into the pits now. Stevo, Lemon, Jack, and Salmon all coming in. Stevo, 12th on fresh softs. Definitely not out of contention here, as he's got 4 drivers in front of him still yet to pit. So he could definitely find himself in a decent points paying position come the end of the race. And really, everyone started to spread out, especially within this top sort of 7. If you look at that, so it's now about who can set the consistent laps, keep on top of the battery, the tyres, the fuel, and make sure that they can just keep pumping in these consistent lap times to the end. Because really, for all these guys, it is how close they can get to Hypers, really. Because well, if they can get near to Hypers, then he's going to just drop back. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be the task, really. Dodgy probably doesn't have to push terribly hard, given the position that he's in. I mean, those hards just still really not working for him. I mean, I hope for his sake that they come into a bit of a better window at the end of the race, but as it stands, still just losing time to Hypers out front, who again has some really strong pace. Just unfortunate that he's picked up quite a few seconds worth of penalties.
Yeah, it is a real shame. If you are just joining us, we've had one retirement so far, and that is Russell retiring in the pit lane after a few laps. And yeah, we had a VSC for Salmon spinning or losing the car in the first sector and losing his front wing. And we've had Hypers pick up a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting into the pit lane. And he is going to be set to lose at the moment, as it stands, a couple of positions at the moment. But can he pull any more of a gap? We will have to wait and see. But Gareth is really hunting down on the 2-stop. The leading driver on the 2-stop is hunting down Cameron, who's made the 1 stop so far from P17 on the grid. He is currently in P6. Dodgy, our pole sitter, lost the position off the start to Jack, and then lost out completely in the pit stop phase. And as the hard tyres have never really worked for him, and lost out big time to his teammate and to Charlie as well. And as it stands, Jack will be on the top step of the podium for this race unless anything dramatic happens. But Gareth, half a second, sets a personal best and is within 2 seconds now as Scott Laney enters the pit lane, and Grumpy Orange carries on the hard compound tyres, I believe.
Yeah, don't know whether that was intentional or not, but just saw the McLarens there swap round. So Maxwell going past Steve-O. He went for the move down into turn 12, and it looked as though Steve-O was going to just let him go, but then he did kind of try and hold it in there. So I wonder if that was perhaps a bit more of Maxwell saying, look, let me go, and kind of making a point, rather than Steve-O choosing to let him through. But having said that, Lemon now as well past Steve-O through the S's. I just saw the back of that. It looked like a pretty good move from Lemon, and now Steve-O is going to lose another place to Lofty. So he's just lost 3 places in less than a lap there, the McLaren driver, and taps the back of Lofty going into turn 11. I think he's gotten away without any damage, but well, that's a pretty horrible lap from Steve-O, or for Steve-O, sorry. Losing 3 positions there, which is a real shame for him.
Yeah, Gareth has made his way past Cosmic Cameron very quickly there, and swiftly indeed, and he will, well, try and set his sights on Dodgy. It's going to be a mammoth mountain to climb, but he should have the grip in the medium compound tyres to the end of the race, and he'll be hoping to deliver a lap after lap as Lofty picks up a time penalty. Turned in a bit too early there, and he will try and make his way past the Flying Lemon for the final championship point as it stands on track. But Jack is 1.8 behind, probably just buying his time. Lofty is going to try down the inside, has a little bit of a nose. He's not really up alongside, and he has to back out at the end. Smartly decides to back out and stays in 11th for now, but he's under serious pressure. Is a Flying Lemon, Maxwell. I didn't realise has completely jumped everyone and is on for at least a top 8 finish, starting from P18, I believe.
Well,
Hyper's pits. Hyper's has
now
pitted.
That is interesting.
That is bizarre, to say the least. You'd thought he'd try and stick it out on those medium tyres.
I mean, he needs all the help he can get.
Yeah. And he doesn't need to be sacrificing a pit stop on the soft compound tyres. He's going to come out ahead of Charlie. He should come out ahead of Charlie. And does, and he will sprint clear of him. But you know he's got a gap.
Whoa!
A lot of
Maxwell.
time. What has happened?
Maxwell and Grumpy Orange have been going at it for the last few corners. Maxwell dived down the inside at turn 15, but Grumpy Orange is trying to defend it. I'd imagine we'll see him come into the pit soon. Contact between the pair of them, and that is Maxwell into the wall.
Oh, Lofty's off front
somehow.
As well. Oh, there's contact. Oh, no. Wheel bagging, force him off the track. I don't know what is going on.
He's somehow got away without damage as Maxwell, or at least noticeable damage, but it looks as though it's all kicking off once again, as Steve-O's now down the inside for P10, make that P9 as he also gets past Orange. Grumpy Orange still yet to pit, the only driver yet to do so, but yeah, that's an interesting call, I think, from Hypers. He's effectively given himself 8 laps to pull 20 odd seconds or whatever it is, again on Charlie, when he only needed to pull a few, I think, to get himself ahead of him. So yeah, slightly interesting call there. But this battle for what is P8 is still going on then. So Maxwell's now the second McLaren driver in pretty much as many laps to lose a whole host of positions, and he's now going past Orange again. This seems to be a bit more straightforward this time, although having said that, is Orange going to try and hold it in round turn 12. I think he tried to, but just has far less grip on those old hard compound tyres.
A nice helicam shot of the track here. Beautiful layout. And yeah, as you can see, this train of cars. There's a Grumpy Orange just tried to fight, and yeah, well, he's kind of hoping for a safety car to bring him into this race. As it stands, the gap between Hypers and Dodgy is 10 seconds and rising, but he needs to double that and then some, at least. It's a bit of position. Gareth picks up a time penalty, that's going to help his fight. His, well, I say slim chance in the championship. And he was trying to hunt down Dodgy, but yeah, he's going to run out of laps, I think, and he's going to have to gap 6 seconds even if he did catch up to him. But yeah, it's 10.5 seconds, I'm going to say. But yeah, he needs to double that at least if he's going to want to finish ahead of Dodgy and get closer in the championship.
I can't see him doing it, unfortunately, for Hypers. He is just behind Cowan as well, so he's going to have to try and get past him as quickly as possible. Fastest lap as well for good measure. I guess his best bet as well. So he needs all the help he can get. If he needs Dodgy maybe to pick up a time penalty or two, but he hasn't got one so far. So if he were to pick up two with 6 laps to go, that would be pretty shocking, really, as we said, for Dodgy. But as I say, at the moment he's not got anything, so he should be alright.
There's a flying
lemon, I think.
And unfortunately for him, his fight for the points will be over, and he's lost all that ground. And we have 2 McLarens in the points for now. Grumpy Orange picks up a time penalty.
Was he not pitted still?
I'm pretty sure he hasn't.
No, he's not. He's still not pitted.
He's waiting. He is just waiting at the moment. Yeah, just forever waiting.
Well, that's the thing, though. We've had a lot of spins, but we've not really had any major incidents, apart from obviously the couple we had on lap 1. So if he is waiting for a safety car or something, then he might be waiting a little bit longer. Grumpy Orange. He's going to drop, I think, all the way back to 17th when he does finally pit as well. So 22 laps on those hards is it's a pretty impressive feat, but it's probably going to be very little, as Hypers is really pushing back. It's another fastest lap for him into the 1:33s now. Just looking at the fastest laps, I mean, he's got the fastest lap by an absolute mile. It's a good second or so, or yeah, to the next fastest driver. So showing some really good pace is Hypers in his bid to try and get himself back up ahead of Dodgy.
The gap
net P5
is 14.5 seconds, and when he crosses the line next, he'll have 4 laps to go, 4.5 laps to go for him. But yeah, this is turning out to be a good day for Jack, and yeah, he'll be hoping to take his second victory of the season, providing he can just keep it all pointing in one direction, all 4 wheels on his wagon, and he will take victory here in the USA. And he's doing very well at the moment. Hypers is closing him down, but he's not going to catch up to him, and he's not going to finish ahead of him anyway, with the amount of penalties that Hypers has got. And the gap is rising 16 seconds almost. The gap now 15.9. Sprightly picks up another penalty. Flying Lemon picks up another penalty. Racing points are outside the points at the moment, as Jester is all the way back down in P12. Made a move on Grumpy Orange for P12. Stays ahead for now. Lofty is just ahead of his teammate. But yeah, Lofty you'd say chose to do that strategy, trying to qualify on the mediums. But
It's
yeah,
just not really materialised for him, has it? Unfortunately.
on this occasion, the medium strategy, starting on the mediums, just wasn't the way to go. And starting on the softs was the way to go. Track position was king for the start of this race. And at the moment, it looks like Dodgy is catching Charlie ahead of him. And so maybe Charlie's tyres are just starting to give away a little bit. And Dodgy finally starting to
Oh,
make some
whoa, whoa,
gains.
whoa! What is
What
going
happened
on
there?
there? Well, I was just following
Um,
Scott Lane because he was within a second of Lemon. It was the closest battle on track. Made a bit of a mistake out of turn 15 using the car on the pad, but then just went right
oh,
off the
there you go.
track at the
He
final
flagged out.
corner, and that probably explains it. Because yeah, he was all out of shape at the final corner. Almost, I thought for a second there, Mertz, that he was going to dive straight into the wall. Um,
Yeah, that
got away
explains
with
a
it.
lot of what happened. The gap
He's completely gone
between
offline as well, actually.
Charlie and Dodgy is now down to 1.7 seconds. Charlie is really struggling here, and this is going to help Alfa Romeo in their late charge maybe for the constructors. They get a gain on Renault as Cowan will finish ahead of Hypers, barring a miracle here. But yeah, Hypers is really wringing the neck out of that Renault, and it's going to be touch and go towards the end, especially if Charlie and Dodgy fight, and which is probably not what Dodgy wants.
Yeah, and it seems as though the hards are coming a little bit back into play for Dodgy, but probably a bit too little, too late. You gotta think.
18.5 seconds is the gap with 2.5 laps to go in this race. The two McLarens very close to each other on the track for 9th and 10th. And but Jack Mole in the Red Bull stands to gain a couple of positions down to penalties. So they won't want to fight too much, but I think it's going to be to no avail. Dodgy
Oh
and DRS
God!
said they don't want to fight too much, and they are
Well,
fighting.
Steve got all out of shape through the S's, and then Maxwell sort of darted round the outside, and I thought that they were going to come together, and it was going to be a massive incident. I'm not entirely sure how they managed contact or quite what they're doing. To be honest, I don't know whether they're in communication with one another, but if they are, then well, maybe one of them speaking French and the other one German or something, because completely got their wires crossed there. Communication
Yellow
breakdown in the McLaren
flag,
garage. It's orange
jumpy
again.
orange.
25 lap old
Still
hards. I
on
wouldn't
the
be
hards
entirely
on that.
surprised if he's got a puncture, which he has. Rear left puncture for Grumpy Orange. I mean, he's done 25 laps on those hards. I'm not entirely sure why he's not pitted. Whether he's
Yeah.
just being stubborn or what. But yeah, he
Indeed,
wasn't
it's
going
the
to get
fastest
anything
lap.
out of the race anyway.
Too late for a safety car or anything, but that is his race over. I think it's time for your driver of the day votes in the chat, please. This is coming to an end. I mean, I would say a grandstand finish, but Hypers is 4 seconds back with
You know
20
what? He
plus second
might
penalties. Grumpy Orange has spun
do it,
again,
Hypers.
but the gap is 21
He might
seconds.
do it with Dodgy here.
Almost 22
gonna be-
seconds. Here we go.
He's going to go literally
Side by
right
side.
down to
Dodgy
the
and
final
Charlie,
corner
the
here.
P4. This is on track. Dodgy around the outside. He takes P4 off Charlie, and that is an Alfa Romeo 3-4 at the moment as he moves himself up into P4 and trying to salvage something from this race. And he maybe gets a step on the podium. Who knows? But the gap is 21, almost 22 seconds ahead. Is Hypers.
Yeah, Orange is doing well to get out of the way, to be fair. But yeah, that was good for Dodgy. Couldn't afford to hang about behind Charlie for too long there. And so that was pretty much ideal for him, getting past pretty much at the earliest opportunity. But I think Orange has just about gotten himself into the pit lane after a fashion. So yeah, this is, like I said, going to go right down to the wire between Hypers and Dodgy here.
I don't know what
It's
Red Bull Scotland he's doing, but I think he's trying to go for a fastest lap, so hopefully he doesn't hamper too much. But we are on the final lap. We have some driver of the day votes in there, so please continue to get them then. But a word for Jack CGB, Ham.
It's been a brilliant drive, to be honest. I mean, obviously the pressure was taken off him after Hyper's penalties and Dodgy dropping off, but nevertheless, I mean, he's kept a cool head, controlled the race, or at least controlled the race from a net lead, whether it was him actually in first or not. But yeah, brilliant drive for him as Steve has just pulled off into the pits and retired. But yeah, fantastic drive from Jack, and I think really deserves this victory. To be honest, he's been by far the most consistent out of the top drivers here. As Hype has got the fuel light flashing, so he might run out of fuel up to the line.
Yeah, Jack CGB then wins the American Grand Prix. Hypers drops a long way back, 25 seconds I think that was in the end. And it's about 24.5 seconds back from the lead was Dodgy. So I think Dodgy might just about finish ahead. Cowan finished in second place. Can Dodgy beat Hypers and gain in championship? He can by a few seconds. Yeah. And Charlie just finishes behind in the end. That is crucial for the championship. That Dodgy finished ahead of Hypers. It's only a couple of points, but at the end of the day, 3 points might be the difference between winning the championship and losing the championship. Gareth comes home in P6, loses out in the end. Lofty will come home in P7. The alternate strategy just didn't work in the end. It's a long way clear for Jack CGB in the end, 18.6 seconds. Jack wins the American Grand Prix and he was in the end. At the end of the day, I mean, Hypers was there, but Jack was in a class of one out front, and boy, did he deserve this victory. And yeah, he was quite close on fuel.
We've got another puncture, Mertz. Cameron's got a puncture.
Jester picks up a point.
Just the line. Yeah, that's been a brilliant recovery from Jester. Damage early on, pitted for the hards, and then went on to the medium. So that's a salvage a point. There's a terrific job from him. I mean, you got to think Hypers will be kicking himself after that, because he clearly had the pace. Probably was the fastest driver, at least in terms of race pace
wide.
there. So
they're going free wide after the race there with Cameron's slow moving punctured car, but it's Jack who is ahead of the two Alfa Romeos, and a double podium for them once again, gaining in the championship. So maybe they can make a late charge for the constructors. But yeah, Cowan P2 and picks up the driver of the day from the viewers, and it's literally only him who is being voted for. So he will be driver of the day. But yeah, Jack by a long way in the end, courtesy of Hypers with 25 seconds of penalties. I think it was, yes, 25 seconds of penalties. Most of that down to cutting the pit lane entry, which went down to a 10-second time penalty, and that is put pay to maybe his championship. We never know. You could look back at this race if it comes down to a few points. We will wait and see. But yeah, double podium for Alfa Romeo, and yeah, very quiet from them. Dodgy will be disappointed after starting from pole, but he won't be disappointed that he gains in the championship. And yeah, points for McLaren with Maxwell come from 18th. Points for Lofty outside the points at the start as well. But yeah, it is Jack your winner from Cowan and from Dodgy in P3. I will leave the podium interviews to you.
All right. Just remember everyone to tick your boxes, but we'll start then with third place, which was SLR Dodgy. Brilliant effort in qualifying. Pole position, I believe it was, unless I've completely forgotten what happened in quali. Good first stint as well, obviously losing the lead at the start, but you kept Hypers behind, which was obviously the most important thing for you heading into this weekend. But then in the pit stops, I don't know whether it was a slow stop we didn't see, but you obviously lost quite a lot of time to Hypers and then ended up in traffic, which really just put you out of sync in that second stint. So I guess in that sense, probably a bit disappointed, but it was a good result for you in terms of the championship. So just talk us through your race, mate.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying went really well for me. I was surprised how well it went. Obviously, pipped pole, which was a good start, and then the start of the race, obviously, Jack managed to get a much better start than me. So obviously, I was playing catch up with him at the start, and then, like you say, it was just trying to keep Hypers behind as long as possible, and then obviously just got ahead before the first round of pit stops. I actually thought that he was going to do another lap, but I came in behind him anyway. But you're right. When I came out the pits, I forgot to press my pit limiter button, so I lost a couple of seconds coming out the pits. But I thought again, I've always said strategy for me is not a great thing, and I thought one stop on the hards was going to be my downfall when I seen everybody else was doing two stop or maybe a longer medium stint. But obviously, with I knew Hypers was in the party, so I'd heard that he had a lot of penalties. I just knew I just had to keep that gap to that sort of penalty gap without picking anything up myself. I was on two warnings towards the end of that race as well. So over the moon with third, happy with that. And the mission was today just to try and finish ahead of Hypers, and luckily that's happened.
Yeah, great result, like you say. Obviously, just a little bit unlucky then by the sounds of things. With the pit limiter, but yeah, P3 as you say, and extended your championship lead. So good job there.
Yeah.
Right then, we'll move on to P2, and it's another Alfa Romeo. So an Alfa Romeo 2-3 with Cowan taking P2.
Yeah.
So great result from yourself and for the team, which helps you out as well in the constructors. But yeah, again, just talk us through your race because it looked to be a relatively quiet afternoon for you.
Yeah, well, after bottling it in quali, I thought I'm gonna have to do something to get a good start, and I noticed I had a good start on Charlie, and that's so straight away I took P4, and then just going along, I was just thinking, just don't get any pens or out like that, and my mate Craig said, just don't get any pens for the first 7 laps. So that was it. So I got no pens going on it, and then when I saw the dodging that going in, I thought, right, we'll go on it now. Went like hell around that lap and then came in mediums. I knew because I'd done it with Craig, and that mediums go all the way after that. So I did that, and I was just trying to keep them pens off me. I had one warning left, and then once I knew Charlie had backed off a bit, it took pressure off, so I could just take them corners. I just went in lane a little bit, and then waited till he was coming back again, and then put it back in standard. And then I was just playing it like that, and there was no point trying to hold Hypers up because it was just fucking rapid. Sorry, it was just rapid when he went round there. So, but yeah, class dodges back in the points, and Alpha Boys 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Sorry.
Yeah, it was really impressive drive from yourself, as you say, and as well to not pick up a penalty round Kota is no mean feat either. So good job on the podium there. But we'll move on to the race winner. The last time, or pretty much the last time I did a Division 3 stream, you were the winner in Belgium. And you've done it again in rather dominant fashion, albeit Hyper's pitting again gave you the lead on track, albeit you had a net lead anyway. But yeah, 18 seconds I think the gap at the end, no penalties as well, which was the key factor I think, as well as a brilliant start and just controlling the race in that first stint. So a great job from yourself. Just talk us through your race as well, mate.
Yeah, after qualifying, P2 was I nearly got pole by I can't remember the gap, but it was a good lap by Dodgy. The start, I always get good starts for most of the time, and the strategy I wanted to do or was planning on was a soft, medium, soft, and obviously the amount of penalties that Hyper's had, I thought I'd just stay out and worry about if Charlie or Cowan would gain on me. But obviously, I think they pit on the exact same lap as I did, so I think basically equal tyres. I was on barely any fuel the whole race. Yeah,
Yeah, you're stunned.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really good drive. Merckx tipped you for the win, so you get a point for that, Merckx. Well done.
Yes.
Um,
Man.
I tipped you for pole, but I was slightly off on that one. But I'm not too disappointed there. It was a really good drive from yourself, as you say. Um, Probably the most consistent in the field today, as well as having some really strong pace. So, yeah, a very strong result there for yourself and the Alpha Tauri team. And that does us then for this evening. Who got driver of the day as well, Matt?
It
Nice
was Cowan who got driver of the day.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
Um,
I felt
yeah.
thanks a lot.
It was, everybody who voted bar one, I think, voted for you. So, yeah,
Oh, bro.
there you go.
Yeah,
Fan
thanks a lot,
favourite. Fan favourite, clearly.
everyone. Yeah, better than you, Dolphin.
But yeah, that is it for Division 3. Championship lead extended more by Dodgy after Hyper's had a calamity with the penalties, and he'll be hoping for better next time out. 3 rounds to go, and 78 points still available, and the Constructors is still in the balance between Renault and Alfa Romeo at the top. Boy, would it be interesting and would they love it if Alfa Romeo were to make a late charge and to take the drivers and the constructors, but so could Renault as well. It's going to be very interesting, but it was Jack's day in America, and I'm sure he will not live that down for a while. So well done to Jack, and well done to Cowan, well done to Dodgy. We do have one more race at the Circuit of the Americas, and that is the Elite Division, where you'll see myself and Ham racing tomorrow. I'm sure you'll see more action from Ham than me, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. But that is at 7 p.m. Tomorrow night, and it's going to be good. I hope for you viewers at home, and hopefully it's good for me. That's all I care about. But that is it for tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. It's been good to be back, and I hope to see you again for the last 3 races of the season, hotting up in the championship. But that is all. Good night.